my name is Macha and I'm your food historian for the day. The purpose of this show is to be more about the anthropology of food than it is about cooking. I am really into food and its history, and I want to share the history of ingredients that we use almost every day. I'm interested in the ways that ingredients tell the history of a culture, and asking questions like, why is there curry in Jamaica? How did black eyed peas get to America? How did peanuts go from South America, where they were basically eaten as beer nuts and not much else, go to West Africa, where they were used in everything, to come back to America in the South and be grown, and all of a sudden everyone's eating peanut butter? It's an interesting 3,000-mile story that doesn't even make logical sense for the plant. So those are the kinds of questions that I really want to ask, and that I want to explore, and I want to bring you with me, as well as share some ingredients along the way. So the first ingredient that we're going to talk about is black eyed peas, and I'm mentioning those first because they're my favorite food. I eat them all the time, and I eat them in a bunch of different ways, and I've read about them a lot, and I think that they are a really good starting place. So they're also known as cow peas, which I'll talk about why later, and they're also known as goat's eye peas, which I think is awesome because they totally look like goat's eyes. You see it. There are several varieties of these beans. They change colors as they dry, but all of them contain the classic eye. The most common one that you'll find is the California black eye, obviously grown in California. It's believed that they are originally native to Western and Northern Africa, and the peas spread to most parts of Asia around 3,000 years ago. Slaves would bring black eyed peas to the Americas, where they would become staple dishes in the American South and Brazil. As a random fact, black eyed peas were a favorite of President George Washington, and they grew in the very first White House garden, which I think is pretty awesome as a piece of American history. Some of the most common dishes that you'll find with the bean as the primary ingredient are in stews, as fritters, and in beans and rice combinations. Particularly Hoppin' John, which is served on New Year's Day, is popular in the South. It originates from the Gullah people of the Carolinas, and it's cooked in the traditional style that Africans use of cooking beans and rice together. You can find this combination all over the Americas in dishes like Louisiana red beans and rice and Cuba's moros y cristos, further demonstrating the influence that slaves had on regional cuisine. Some interesting facts about the bean is they are incredibly hardy plants and can live in a variety of environments, even hot and dry, which is great for people who live in drought conditions or seasonal dry periods. The beans are high in protein, and the leaves and stalks provide great food for grazing animals, hence the name cow peas. So honestly, these plants are great, and they can live almost anywhere, and they feed your stock plants while also feeding you, and feeding you during dry times. And the fact that you can dry the bean and keep them for dry season, it's like this plant just keeps giving and giving. I think it's a really interesting piece of food history for that reason, and that's why it's been such a staple for people for so long. Personal pet peeve. For the longest time, I couldn't find canned black eyed peas at the store because people, for some reason, keep putting them with field peas on the shelf and not with the beans. I really don't understand why. They are actual beans. Please put them with beans, because canned ones are so much easier to use when you need them in a pinch. And while Hoppin' John with a side of greens and cornbread is the most common New Year's dish, I am not going to be making that because you can find that recipe anywhere on the internet. I'm making one that I make probably like once every 2 months because it's super easy, and it's one that I like to introduce people to when they say they don't like black eyed peas because all they've ever had is that really dry version that everybody eats. So I want to show them at their peak when they taste really good with a bunch of other flavors and a very easy and accessible way for you to make them. Thank you for taking the time to watch this episode about black eyed peas. I hope you'll join us for the next one.